What's up, y'all? I don't know what's on the tip of my nose. um, I wanted to drop this. What's up, y'all? Um, First of all, thanks so much for all of the love and the well wishes and the, just generosity of spirit that so many of you offered as I departed the U.S. and as I arrived in New Zealand. And it felt really special and loving and generous and kind. And I just really want to thank you for that. And, because there was a word in there. One of the things that I found disconcerting a little bit in some of those responses was a lot of white people, talking about leaving or having left or can't wait to leave. And I really want to challenge that inclination inside of whiteness. So I've talked about this before, that inside of the principles of buy back black debt, one of the principles is responsibility as possibility. And it is one of the principles that lives inside the Black love and care ethic created by K. Williams. And responsibility as possibility is very specifically about the ways in which Black people, specifically inside of Buy Back Black Debt, but, Black, Indigenous, brown folks, have historically had to bear the responsibility of navigating the outcomes of white supremacist delusion, capitalism, and patriarchy inside of the project that is the United States of America, while liberal white folks have really gotten to luxuriate in the possibility of hoping for a better world. I once had a person tell me, that a very, very, very wealthy white man, tell me that, his family member's position, was that, like the Black Lives Matter movement was just making people angrier, and like he believes in the goal, but, it's, obviously it's just not working. And the primary issue with that there are so many things problematic about that particular perspective, but the primary perspective is that it assumes that the responsibility for resolving the issues that white supremacist delusion has created lie on the shoulders of Black people. And that it's Black people's job to convince white people to get on board. And that is, and I've talked about this before, is one of the key luxuries and inhumanities. It's an inhumane luxury to sit back and propose that somebody prove to you the appropriate way, the way you would render appropriate to honor their humanity. Like, no, I don't like that particular way in which you're asking me to treat you like a human. Ask me in a different way. Right? And what that comes from is, again, the inhumane luxury of sitting inside of possibility as a white person. I believe it's possible that we'll have a better world one day. I believe in the possibility of change, right? And that there's a willingness to kind of sit on one's ass and wait for the possibility of change, or to decide that the possibility of change is not happening fast enough, or that the things that required are too hard and depressing, and so you're just going to leave and go someplace else. right? Responsibility as possibility proposes that it is white people's responsibility to clean up the mess of white supremacist delusion. It's your job. It is literally your birthright. And to evade that birthright by being like, this makes me sad here, I'm going to another country, is again an inhumane luxury. And once again, abdicating the responsibility of the outcomes of white supremacist delusion on the lives of Black and Indigenous and brown folks in the U.S. And, you know, I think it's important that we, you know, like, my work is around radical self-love. My work is about how we love and care for ourselves, first and foremost. But love and care also includes responsibility. You know? It also includes, like, I am responsible to be in right relationship to the Indigenous stewards of this land. I'm responsible to that as a person who showed up here, right? And my work is to be in conversation with Maori community such that I am in right relationship. White people in the United States, your responsibility is to make that relationship right. Not to flee to someplace else where the outcomes of white supremacist delusion and capitalist imperialism are more comfortable. Because the organizers and activists that I know are still in the U.S. trying to get it together, trying to make it a place inhabitable for themselves and the people that they love. And inside of whiteness, the equation is wrong. It should be white people's job to make the United States inhabitable for people of color. And if you haven't exhausted your labor and efforts, if you can't run me a good, tight, long list of organizations and activities and coins that you have put forth over decades to remedy the outcomes of white supremacist delusion in the United States, it is inappropriate for you to leave. You are abandoning your responsibility. And I know that that might feel uncomfortable for folks, and I'm okay with that. Because what I know is that I spent 41 good years inside of the not only responsibility, but the daily violence. Not only responsibility, but a mother dead, as far as I'm concerned, to the outcomes of the United States and its fucked up war on drugs. Cousins dead, murdered. People that I love, my family, I'll never ever see again as a result of the outcomes of the United States and its behaviors and activities as manifested through white supremacist delusion. And still, I labor on behalf of marginalized folks everywhere, but absolutely in the U.S. And so if you ain't doing that type of work, then you're not doing anything but exporting white supremacist delusion to another location. Unacceptable. An inhumane luxury. So I really want to encourage you to think about that. Think about your positionality and your power and your responsibility, such that people who have lived at the outcomes and the deadly consequences of white supremacist delusion might have a different way of existing. And that they don't have to flee their family and their loved ones in order to have some semblance of peace. How about you work to make America what it ain't never been? Yeah. Yeah. Those are my thoughts. Bye.